Good day, grade 8 learners. This is your teacher Arwen, and welcome to a new episode of our instructional video in English 8. This instructional video will definitely help and assist you to better understand the content of your modules. Thus, get your pen, paper, and modules ready because today will be so much fun. First, let's have a review of our earlier topic. Previously, we discussed about expressing emotional responses through the use of verbs, adjectives, and adverbs. We comprehensively discussed how to appropriately and creatively use these specific parts of speech to express our emotions and reactions. For today's episode, we will be having the different types of tables, graphs, charts, and maps to explain information found in expository texts. Let's have some mood setting first for you to have a glimpse of our lesson for today and for you to be motivated to learn. Our activity is called I Saw the Signs. In here, I will be showing 5 images and you are tasked to answer where do we commonly or usually see each sign. So, I am expecting all of you to answer a place. Ready? Let's go. First picture. Second picture. Third picture. The fourth one. And the last. Did you enjoy that activity, learners? I am confident that you did. I let you do that activity because our lesson for today is explain visual, verbal relationships illustrated in tables, graphs, and information maps found in expository texts. Take note, we will be dealing with exposition. Here are our objectives. As a learner of this module, you are expected to, first, identify the illustrations used in an expository text. Second, interpret information using table, graph, and map. Third, create graph and information map. And lastly, explain visual verbal relationships illustrated in tables, graphs, and information maps found in expository texts. Moving forward, let's begin by discussing 4 of the different types of texts. Narrative texts tell a story. Descriptive texts detail a characteristic features of a thing. Persuasive texts simply convince. And expository text puts forward an argument or a particular point of view. Let's further discuss our focus text for today by looking at its salient features. Non-fiction texts, meaning to say, these texts give facts and information about a certain topic. The text is fact-based with the purpose of exposing the truth through a reliable source. True and deliberate expository text will focus on educating its readers. Expository texts use different text structures and more complex grammar to get information across than the other texts. And lastly, expositions are clear, concise, and organized writing. Expository text gets to the point quickly and efficiently. You might be confused why expository texts are connected with tables, graphs, and information maps for this discussion. To answer that, Dimog 2005 stated, using graphic organizers or diagrams enables students to see the text structure, understand, and remember it better. Let's take a look at these examples. These presented the sales of the Be With Me album of Darren Espanto in two different formats. One was in paragraph form, and the other one used shapes. These are linear and non-linear text. Let's differentiate the two. Linear texts are so-called traditional texts because this type of text need to be read from beginning to the end. Generally, texts printed on paper are considered as linear texts. Non-linear text, on the other hand, is the opposite of linear text. You, as the reader, do not have to go through the text in a sequential manner in order to understand the text. This type of text has many reading paths since it's the readers who decide the sequence of reading, not the author of the text. Let's take a look at the different types that you specifically use to present your data. First, there are times that pieces of information are accompanied with tables and graphs so that lengthy and wordy presentation can be avoided, which is true because it would be easier for you to know what the information is all about and will ease the understanding of complicated facts and figures. Tables and graphs are visual representations. They are used to organize information to show patterns in relationships. A graph shows this information by presenting it as a shape. Researchers and scientists often use tables and graphs to report findings from their research. In newspapers, magazine articles, and on television, they are often used to support an argument or point of view. Tables consist of facts and figures arranged in columns and rows for quick reference. For example, by looking at the table lifted from my undergraduate thesis, we can immediately see that English was the most common language used by MMSC students in their graffiti. Next, graphs and charts. These are visuals that show a relationship between two or more sets of measurements. The most common types of graphs are line graphs and bar graphs, while pie charts are the most common type of chart. First, we have line graph, a type of graph used to visualize the value of something over time. Line graphs are commonly used to show trends. They are easy to read because the reader is able to identify the trend based on the direction of the line. Line graph consists of two axes: the x-axis, the horizontal, and y-axis the vertical, graphically denoted at x, y. Each axis represents a different data type, and the point at which they intersect is 0. The x-axis is the independent axis, and its values are not dependent on anything measured. So here are the parts of the line graph. First, the title uses keywords to tell what the graph is all about. Points represent the data amount. Lines connect the data points. The scale shows the units used on the y-axis. And the labels explain what kind of data is shown on the x and y-axis. For example, this line graph shows the population trend and the comparison of the Philippines and the world from 1980 to 2018. The y-axis has the population growth, while the x-axis presents the years. As shown, the population trend went down as years passed by. Easy to determine, right? Next, we have bar graphs. Bar graphs have columns or bars arranged horizontally or vertically in presenting data or information. Usually, they are used to show comparison between two variables. They are also used to show the frequency of events in different classes or intervals. For example, this was a field Erie test result bar graph representation. The graph differentiated the pre-test and the post-test results of the students to identify if there were improvements and if the reading remediation and programs implemented were successful. And as far as the bar graph is concerned, it is definitely a success. Next, we have pie charts. As the term implies, pie charts are visual representation of information on parts or segments as proportion, percentage, or fraction of a whole. One can clearly see that the visual itself shows who or which segment has the bigger piece of the pie. For example, this pie chart shows what social media platform is commonly used by most of the respondents. As shown from the chart, out of 107 responses, 45.8% of them used Snapchat and 30.8% used Instagram. Easier, right? Lastly, we have maps, a symbolic representation of selected characteristics of a place, usually drawn on a flat surface of a whole or just a part of an area of the whole. For example, if you want to visit one of the most beautiful beaches in the world in Pagudpud, just key it in your Google map and drive safely. And we are done with our discussion. Is our discussion clear, learners? I am confident that it is. Oops! That's our sign. It's activity time. To further enhance your knowledge, familiarity, and skills in using graphs, tables, and charts, let's accomplish these activities. For your first activity, all you need to do is to analyze this table and answer the questions that follow. You're only given 1 minute to answer each question. We have here our legends, F for frequency, and the percentage. Ready? Let's have the first question. We're done with our first activity. Let's go to the second one. Read the linear text inside the box and make an illustration using a visual representation of your choice. You could use table, line graph, bar graph, or pie chart. You can be as creative as possible. Your output will be graded using a rubric. Here is the linear text. Screen cap these slide now, learners, and begin doing your graphical representations. I hope that you will enjoy making them. To sum up, graphs and tables are graphical representation of data. They are represented by symbols or legends, and they are used to ease understanding of large quantities of data and show the relationships of the data. And just like that, we are all done with this module. I do hope that you have learned a thing or two from this video lesson. Just to remember, understanding pieces of expository information is made easier for you through tables, charts, graphs, and maps. Again, this is your teacher Arvin telling you to confidently and courageously go beyond pages. If you have questions and clarifications, feel free to send me a direct message. Have a darn fun today, everyone!